everybody. Welcome to the 2A Street.
2A Street.
I've got Abe over there.
What's up, everybody?
Another fine early morning that we've got going on. We're in the middle of a heat wave over here, for those that don't know. And I know it's a first world problem for us to complain about not having air conditioning and stuff like that. Things could be worse, but that's all right. It's all right. We got things to be thankful for as well. There's no doubt about that. So, Abe, how's your week been? It's been a couple. We had the Canada Day celebration last weekend. And I thought that we had gotten together. Yeah, we got together before that. Oh, it was a Friday night.
Friday night, yes.
That's why it's all messed up. But it seems like it's been a while.
It's been a minute, man. You know what I'm saying? It's been a minute.
Yeah, no, but that's a good thing, though.
Yeah.
When it's only been a week or so since we've seen each other, but yet it feels like it's been forever. I think that's a good thing in relationships.
Definitely.
Right? So it's all good. So I had this interesting experience on Thursday night, is what it was. And what I like about our conversations is that I take it and I process it, and then you start to see things differently, and you start to take that extra second when you come across a situation, and then try and apply it. And then I had something that we were talking about happen to me, and then I thought, man, I gotta ask Abe if I handled this right, or if or what your thoughts are, I guess, overall.
All right.
It's too late to make it right. So Thursday night, we come and we practice music for Sunday morning, and after that we go out for some appetizers at a local restaurant here.
Yeah.
We got a server, everything's gelling, the server's fantastic, and we're all just chatting and going. And about an hour and a half in, the server says, "So, do you guys attend the church with the African pastor?" And I'm looking around the table, and I got 4 white girls, and then me and my 2 boys. And the first thought is, how do you even know that we attend church? Where did this come up at all? Because these days we're careful, right? And the second thought from there is like, okay, if this individual is looking for that kind of church, I'm like, are you talking King's Court? I'm like, I can get you connected over there. I immediately think about B. And then we keep going in this conversation, and then one of my co-musicians is, yeah, Sunday, why don't you come? I'm like, man, this is the first time we are out there actually inviting people that we've never met and going there. But my mind is going on this whole thing because, let me qualify the context now, this is a black man as our server. And I'm thinking, we don't have enough diversity in our ranks to be inviting this person to show up. This person definitely would up our dance game. It's cool. But my second thought there is, man, I either need to make sure that Abe or Sammy is there to be welcoming. And I'm just not sure if that was the right thing to do. Wouldn't it have been better to send him off to B's church?
No, what you did is the right thing. You feel me? Because you don't want to segregate ourselves in a situation where it's like, all right, that's the black people church right there. You know what I mean?
You keep talking, because
because it can get to a place of segregation where you're thinking like, all right, this is the white church, that's the black church. You know what I'm saying? That's the black concept, that's a white concept. We need to come together. You feel me? And when we come together, what that does is that we integrate each other and we start to understand each other's cultures, differences, and then we can unite together. You feel me? And when we start to put a label to say that's a black people organization or that's a white people organization, we just begin to divide ourselves again and again and again and again. You feel me?
No, and that was the thing, is that I was thinking my thought process, like, no, we're welcoming and we want this and we know, and so is that a choice on your behalf then to attend a predominantly white church? You know what I mean? Like that's something you're making a decision on, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And that's the thing, is that it's not up to me to choose for this individual whether or not they feel like they will or will not fit it. And these were all the things I started thinking about after the fact. It's just like, so I mean, overall, I actually went back into the restaurant after, and I'm like, if you're actually serious, we'll see you Sunday at 10, right? So that was the thing where it ended up. But from there now I'm like, do I text Dave if he's not feeling good on Sunday? I don't want to put pressure on him to say, B, you got to be here, man. You know.
Let me ask you this question right here. How many black people have been to your house?
Been to my house?
Yeah.
Just it's really just you and Sammy.
How many?
And my buddy that's in jail, right?
All right. So how many people have actually sat down and had dinner at your house? Black people.
The equivalent amount. It's you three are the prominent.
Right. So it's a conscious decision on my part to come to a predominantly white church because I might be the only black person that they will ever be close to.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And now it gives me that much more push to behave well, to do things well, because I am that person, or poster boy, so as to speak, that the persons are going to be close to. You feel me? So now this is why the decision that I've made to come out to this church right here, is to be a light, so as to speak. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times we're stereotyped. To be like, all right, this is who the black people are supposed to be. This is who they be. And so when you step out of that box right there, they're like, huh? You know what I'm saying? Y'all actually normal. You feel me? So for me, it's a mission, basically. You feel me? I'm being intentional in how I do my thing and how I project my image out there. They say, yo, we out here, we're successful, we're doing our thing.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think we'll get him on to answer for as well? But for Sammy, do you think he's doing the same kind of thing, or is it one of those positional things right now? Is that I need to get my foot in the door on the ministry that I want to be part of, and then from there we're going to see where it's going to go. Do you think that there's going to be a difference when you're actually employed by a predominantly white space, or when you volunteer for a predominantly white space?
There's a difference right there.
There is a difference, and you know, you put me on the spot, but in a good way. Just a moment ago, when you asked on how many black people, because for me, and I don't know again if this is that colorblind thing that we talked about before, but when you say, you know, how many black people have you had in your house? It's not from lack of trying.
That's right.
It's lack of exposure.
Exactly.
And so, but I hesitated in my thought because I was like, did I do enough?
Right.
Do I have enough outreach to go and meet these people and interact? And for me, it's just been exposure. I'm not trying to justify or qualify. It's just simply, I'm sure there's plenty of people. I've just never been at the right place at the right time.
Exactly.
We've said it. Exactly. Never be in the right club, the same club together, right? So I thought about that, but going to that question.
It's so real though, because look at how many, for me, like for a lot of blacks, like we have a lot of white friends, right? And we know a lot about your culture. You feel me? But how many white people know about our culture?
Yeah, and that's low, and that's for me. Sadly, that's low.
But it's not a choice. It's not by choice though. Right?
It's exposure.
Like you say, exactly. That's 100%. It's exposure, and that's why we got to be intentional in how we do our thing. You went back and talked to the server again, like, yo, if you're serious, come holler at us. You feel me? That's being intentional in relationships right there. You feel me? But when you just box yourself out and say, nah, I'm gonna stick with my people because my people is where it's at. You know what I'm saying? And I'm black out here. I'm saying I'm gonna stick with my people because where my people is at, it's where it's at. You feel me? Then we segregate ourselves. It ain't healthy. It ain't healthy.
Well, and that's the thing is, it's quite amazing how much is actually going through my head right now, is even as using exposure as the excuse on, I don't like to call it ignorance, it's just simply not knowing. I just simply don't know. And the reason why society has as much exposure to white culture that you know that we like hamburgers and french fries and steak and potatoes and all that is because there's a billion of those kind of restaurants all over the place.
Exactly right,
And then second to that, even if there was somewhere that served traditional African cuisine somewhere, I would hesitate going in because of that unknown. I don't know what I'm going into. You know, and it's another thing that I don't know how to fix. I don't know how to get people educated well enough to say, no, man, go on in there. There's nothing different. That you're going to go in there, you're going to have meat, you're going to have a vegetable, you're going to have... Hey, it's just a really interesting mindset here. And we had that conversation before when my other buddy introduced me to traditional Chinese for the first time. But you go in there with a friend. You go in there with a safety blanket. How do we make it so that people can go in there comfortably? I mean, It's not like the serving team is not going to know that you've never been in this restaurant before, right? They are going to be able to accommodate you. They're not going. I'm not going to walk into an African restaurant. They're going to go, oh, another white guy. You know what I mean? Like, it's, how do we get that mentality together so that we understand equally that you guys are accommodating? You're going to be all right. 100. You're going to help us and walk through. How do we educate that?
Well, we just gotta be, like I said earlier, man. That's the word of the day: intentional. You feel me? Because you go to Mexico, you're gonna eat their food out there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You don't go to a certain country and expect to be eating Canadian food. As an Afro-Canadian dude, I love my Canadian food. I love everything like that. But if I go to a different country, I'm gonna try and experience that. Yeah. I go to Ethiopian restaurants out here in the streets. I go to Nigerian restaurants out here in the streets. I don't. It's not my type of food, but I love to go out there and experience the culture, experience how they do their thing.
For sure.
Yeah, I go to have what do they call it? Quesadilla or something like that?
Yeah.
Mexican foods and stuff. I go chill out and do what I gotta do. You feel me? Because intentional. I got to be intentional how I do my thing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm gonna be closed in and never know what other people cultures is all about. Yeah. Then I'm gonna judge people. When I smell their food, when I see how they dress, I'm gonna start judging them and thinking that no, they gotta come to the Canadian way of doing things. You feel me?
For sure.
And then now, all of a sudden, Canadian culture is the elite. That's the 100 kind of situation.
You got it. You got the right word too. Intentional. That's our word of the day on this one, because I was thinking about that when you're talking about smelly food, so to speak. And the first Indian restaurant that I went to, the first Indian house that I went and did some work at and all that, and it's one of those things that sticks with you. And you're kind of like, it's not offensive. It's just something I'm not used to.
Exactly.
And we have developed this sense of something that I'm not used to offends me.
Exactly. Wow, that's how.
And I don't.
I like that already.
But I don't like it. I don't like that it's true.
It's very true. Yes.
And we even did it the other day when you told me you're going out to Brooks, and I was like, "Oh, that's that stinky meat plant," But we got there. We're there. That's how the culture is. Is all these things that are just unpleasant are now offensive.
Yes.
Right. And we've started to blur the line of what offensive means. Kind of like how the line of what is racism blurs.
Yes.
Suddenly, no man, I just don't like Nigerian food. You're a racist. Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa! Whoa! You know what I mean? Is that it's just all these things are getting taken to the extreme, even when they're just a simplistic definition of something. I just don't like that food. It doesn't mean that I don't like the culture. It doesn't mean that I'm inflicting a context of superiority over another race. You know?
Right.
No, man, I just don't like that food. It's so intentional. You're right, man.
You have to be intentional in the streets, man, because if you're not intentional, you ain't never going to learn nothing. You ain't never going to learn nothing. Y'all feel me? And this is where, again, you're going to be classifying and say, that's a black church or that's a white church. You feel me?
Yeah.
And we got to move away from that situation.
And that's the thing is that this fellow, considering that he's likely been exposed to similar things as you, wouldn't have even asked or offered, right? Why did I suddenly inherit that risk when he had a choice?
Right.
He had a choice to even say where you guys even attend.
Yeah.
Right? Why am I the one that said, well, hold on, let me decide what church you should... Like, you know what I mean? These are all the things that went in after. Is that he was fully aware, considering that I'm with 4 white girls... that asking what kind of church we go to, it's not going to be, for sure, we're actually the only white people in the church that we... You know what I mean? Yes. But immediately the mentality went in there as like, I got to either protect this fellow or I got to guide this fellow.
Right.
He knew what he was asking.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
That's where I started to feel that, did I handle it? I handled it right, but the internal thought process is exactly the things we've been talking to on 2A, is that mentality of, we're either better or we can help somebody or and that freaked me out. It freaked me out because I know we're talking about it. I know I'm more sensitive to it. I know I'm more aware to it. But there's all these things that I'd learned in my history that are like, okay, cool. We're a big superpower in North America. We can help these people and bring you to the field of dreams.
100.
And it was interesting, but that's likely when you talk about seeing things every day. That's probably very similar to what I just did. I just pulled it right out from under this guy, and I was like, "No, cool. I'll guide you."
Yeah.
No, man. You don't need my help. You don't need me to tell you what church. You just Google it.
Just do
you know? There's African churches in there.
Exactly.
But this guy reached out to us. Man, and then I just about turned around and did the whole, just grab my hand and we'll go.
Well, let's go.
And man, that would have been the worst thing I could have done there, right? So,
man, these experiences are very important to us. You know, they're very important because there's no way of learning without being exposed to something.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There definitely is not. There's no way. You can't learn without being exposed to it. So the more that we're exposed to different things is the more that we're going to learn.
Yeah.
And if we learn about, say, what did this person think about my people or my culture and stuff, then it's just going to help you to be better in how you present yourself or how you do things. But then if you ain't placed in those situations, you ain't never gonna know.
Yeah.
You feel me? And this is why, like, the experience that you had, it was important to check yourself out and say, you know, how am I doing? How can I improve myself? How can I do things differently? You know, because without that, we are comfortable in our situations.
Yeah. Well, and that's where I'm extremely thankful because I knew during the whole conversation, number one, that it was definitely a learning experience because I'd never gone through that, and frankly, I've never had anywhere to invite anybody anyways.
Right.
So it was going to be a new experience either way. But knowing that I'd be able to reflect with you on it and say, Abe, this is what my upbringing mind is telling me. What does this look like from your perspective? And know that it's not going to be this slanted race issue or something like that. It was good. It was good, comfortable, knowing that I could go in there and say, okay, no, you know what, I can talk to somebody about this and all that. So if people are curious, though, about looking up different cultures, especially when it comes to black, because that's one of those ones where, again, they get grouped like Asian.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So Japanese, Chinese, Korean, oh, that's Asian. I Google Asian food. And then suddenly you get... But is that similar for you, that there's a difference between Zimbabwe food and Nigeria and all
difference.
that? So if somebody were curious, how do they look that up properly? Like, you don't type black food.
You don't type black food. But there's a difference. Every country in Africa has their own kind of food and how they do their thing. Even traditions and cultures, everything is different out there in the streets. And so it's just like Bronx and Harlem and Queens. They all got different ways of doing their thing.
Yeah,
you feel me?
I just hear street meat. Whenever you say any of that stuff from New York or Toronto, I think street meat. Man. I don't care what color it is, as long as I'm getting it out of that cart. Man, sorry.
And like even in Toronto right now, there's different, like Scarborough is different from Kipling and Finch or Jane and Finch. They're two different set of things right there. You know what I'm saying? So with learning all of these things, I lived in Kipling and Kipling and Finch. I moved to Scarborough, and it's totally different. Even though it's in the same city, it's totally different cultures, totally different ways of doing things. You'll find that a lot of people will gravitate towards where the jobs are, for example. So some people will go and live in Scarborough because there's a lot more work and opportunity and stuff. But you got to learn that stuff. Why are people moving out there? If you care enough, you know, if that's something that you're called to care about, you know what I mean? Because some things are just not, they're not issues. But my thing is this right here, though, that if we don't learn, if we don't come out there and say, yo, listen, man, I'm out here to learn. I'm out here. I'm a student of life, you know. I want to learn. You know, if I Google African food, I'm going to get Ghana food there. I'm going to get Nigerian food, Ethiopian food. I'm going to get Somalian food. It's a whole different kind of thing.
Now, so your thought, though, on that would be, don't even worry about which one of those you take because any exposure is good exposure at this point.
At this point, yes.
Yeah, I was thinking about that as you're talking about it. Is I'm being way too picky at this point. It's like, is there even anywhere in Airdrie that I can go and try any kind of African food that you're aware of? Yeah, see, this shines actually a very good light on what we've been talking about as well. Is there's 2 East Indian restaurants as far as I know. Maybe 4, but 2 that are well enough known. 1 Mexican restaurant that's not a corporate franchise. 1 Japanese restaurant, 1 Korean restaurant. You know what I mean? and tons of Western food.
Yeah.
Tons of Western food. There's a population of, I think, 110,000, maybe not even, maybe only half of that. Right? We should at least have one of every ethnicity at some point.
No doubt, yeah.
And what about even in Calgary? There was one Ethiopian restaurant that I know of that's down in the Beltline.
There's a lot more. So now again, this goes up back to Jane and Finch and Scarborough situations. So you will find more African restaurants along 17th Street, not the west side but the east side.
You're talking Calgary.
Yes.
You're talking Calgary. Yeah.
So this is like across the tracks, basically, right?
Yeah.
And
so you're talking southeast as opposed
yes,
to southwest.
Exactly.
Because southwest is the one that they made the Red Mile, and where you get all like the pop-ups of variations of North American food.
All right. Yeah.
Right. So you get the gourmet poutine, and you get the gourmet burgers and all that over on the west side of 17th. So you're talking the
east side.
East side.
Yes.
And then that's where the franchise of Popeyes just showed up.
Yes,
fried chicken.
Exactly.
The fried chicken, man.
So in the hood, that's where you're gonna find a lot of the African restaurants and stuff, right? And you gotta look for these things. You know what I'm saying? And this is where it's at. If you want it, you gotta go down there. Yeah. In Erdrey, we do have an African supermarket.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
where is that?
It's down close to Biggie's Church down there.
Okay.
You know, and
Oh yeah. That's right. It's right in that strip mall.
Yeah.
That's right. I've seen it right beside Tony's Vietnamese restaurant.
That's right.
Man, we just foodies up in here today, man.
Straight up. You know what I mean? And like, it's sad that we have to again, Southeast.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Black church, white church, everything is just kind of divided that way.
Yeah.
You feel me? And if you want to go to get what else can we use as an example? You know. But anyways, that's exactly what it is.
No, I'm just thinking, we really need to, out of the many things that we thought that we need to do, which is true, but how do we do that? You know, how do we make it so that we got to get people interested.
Sure.
Before they can even be interested, they can't be intentional.
Right.
And then once they're intending on it, then we can finally start bridging the gaps. But people aren't even interested.
Exactly.
Right? They're comfortable. We talked about comfort a lot on the show.
Yeah.
Where it's okay that I'm walking down the street in my group, and if all I have to do is just take 2 steps to the right to avoid that group of people or that homeless guy, and then continue on my way, that's good enough for me. How do we get people to care and even be interested in anything else that's outside of their tunnel vision view of this perfect world that they live in? How do you get there, man?
Man, like, this is where we got to teach people. We got to teach people. And if we don't teach people, I mean, even with teaching people, it's got to be inside of you.
Yeah.
You got to be awakened. That stuff that's inside of you now, they say, all right, you know what? There's something true to what this person is saying. Yeah. And because there's some truth, I'm going to try it. Yeah. I'm going to try and love that person. I'm going to try and not walk across the street when I see somebody who's dirty and not in my way of thinking that they should be dressed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I got to think differently. I got to look at people differently. I got to look at cultures differently. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Just because that dude is Muslim doesn't mean that he's going to do me bad.
That's right.
Just because that person, you know, is Italian doesn't mean that they're going to yell at me when they're talking.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah, totally.
So I gotta look at things real different here, because society has taught us that, you know, you're wearing your True Religion jeans and you're wearing your nice Italian shirt, then you're up and up in society. Yeah. You feel me? And then we look at somebody else who's wearing something else. You think you're like, nah, man, that person, they struggling. They ain't not in my league. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's a sad way of looking at things. Yeah. It's a really sad way of looking at things, because I like to be that kind of a person who sometimes I dress real down.
Yep.
Like I'm talking about, I'm just wearing torn up things sometimes. Yep. You know what I'm saying? And people look at me funny that way. Yeah. I don't care. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I know what's inside of me. Yeah. You feel me? What's inside of me cannot be bought, it can't be changed, because I believe 100% that Abe is worth it. Yeah. You feel me? I write a lot about you're worth it kind of situation.
Yeah.
You gotta understand that you know you don't need to be the best dressed person out there, because a lot of these best dressed people, they're the most insecure people in the streets. Yeah. You feel me? They're the most judgmental people. They're the most evil people out in the streets, and they're dressed in that 3-piece suit and everything like that. They're driving the Maybach. You know what I'm saying?
What you wear is what you are.
Exactly. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm looking at this situation. I'm like, dog. You know what I mean? you dressed up the way that you dress, you know what I mean? And you're still looking at me funny, dude.
Yeah.
You ignorant with it.
Yeah.
You feel me? You gotta learn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if you can't learn, that means to me that there's nothing inside of you that can be
That's
taught.
right. That's
you
right.
feel me? And because of that situation,
if you take away the clothes, what are you? Right?
That's
what you're talking about.
I like that right there. You know what I'm saying? I really like that right there because you know a lot of people. It's sad, man, out here in the streets, man. I'm telling you, man. This is y'all gotta support, our two-way street and conversations with air because we out here to teach people. Yeah. You know, we out here to really inspire people to step out of your boxes, man. Step out of those zones right there.
You're hard pressed to find two guys like this.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
We would have never run into each other any other way.
100.
And we're having these open conversations. So, as you're talking there, I like to believe that we're close. Mm-hmm. But the only indicators I get from that are from social media. And that's probably my biggest downfall is thinking that that is an indication of how people feel. Because I saw one yesterday where these guys, they dressed up and they weren't even shady homeless. I mean, the one guy had his nice headphones and he's just kind of wearing regular casual street clothes. And he's going up to people that are just at a restaurant and he's like, hey, sorry, I haven't eaten in a little while. Do you mind sharing some of your food? Oh. And everybody that was well off is like, no. And then he sent one of his buddies to go to a homeless guy, gave him a couple cheeseburgers and said, hey, I just thought you might be hungry, here's that. And then they sent in the other guy. And he's like, hey, I haven't eaten in a while, you got some food? Homeless guy right away, yeah, I got some extra, no problem.
Man.
So, and you see it. Man. 35,000 likes on that. I'm like, there ain't no 35,000 people going out there and sharing their cheeseburgers with the homeless. You know what I mean? And that's the thing is that I like to think that we're so close because there's so many people saying, this is awesome, I love this is great, and all that. Nobody's doing angry face emoticon on there. And that's why we're close. But they're still not doing it. They think it's a great cause, but they're not supporting that cause. And I don't know how to bridge that gap. I don't know how to get people out there saying, a McDouble costs you $1.99. Buy one extra. You don't have to walk very far, even in Airdrie, to find somebody who needs that cheeseburger.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But it's driving me crazy, man. So just a little bit of charity, you know?
So, okay, so I'll take your example right now. The reason why that beggar or that person right there on the streets gave freely is because they know the struggle of going to bed hungry. They do. You feel me? So it's not a hard thing for them to say, you know what, you're hungry. I always get hungry. You know what I'm saying? What goes around comes around. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then the rich person right there, they're so removed. You know what I'm saying? From struggle. They ain't even know what struggle is. Yeah. So to them it's just like, go and work, buddy. You feel me? I'm working. Go out there and work.
See?
But, you know what I mean?
But so...
yeah.
So here's I got two examples that people may or may not think are related. But because I've been to both, that's how come I can link them together. So I've been hungry. So I know what it's like to have food, which means that I'm okay with giving food.
For sure.
I've also been without a savior, and I've been with a savior. So I know what it's like to not have and to have had.
Yeah.
But why is it that in any of these contexts, we need to have been down at the bottom in order to show other people what it's like to be back in regular kind of thing? I don't want to have to sit there and tell people, you don't know what it's like until you've been to the bottom.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, 100% of the people who actually have any level of respect and context in this world have always had a rock bottom to look up from.
That's right.
And if that's the way that life is supposed to be, okay, fine. Then I can't wait for everybody to crash. And that sucks to say that. But if that's the only way we can enlighten people is for them to be looking down or from down up, then I guess that's what we got to do. But there's got to be a way to just flick a switch in somebody and just say, there's 1,000 books out there.
Yeah.
Read one of the books and actually understand, yes, it can happen to you. Just stop it from happening by doing this, this, and this. But we don't. We as humans are continuously, no, I can do that better because the other 2,000 years of people ahead of me didn't get it right and I'm special.
Yeah.
You know, I just, is that your experience as well, that people have to have been down in order to respect it properly?
And it's kind of sometimes people they struggle, they come from the bottom and they get up here and they forget. You know what I'm saying? And then you got the other people, the other group that just says, you know, I know how to struggle, so I'm gonna help you. two-way street. We're all about that. You know what I'm saying? We're going to start this situation right here to help people. You feel me? But like, okay, let me use this one right here. This is just fresh on my mind right here. You sent me a photo of your son's birthday.
Yeah, yes,
right?
Yes.
And your child had different kind of races and different groups of friends at his party. Yeah. You feel me? And that's a beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. Right? Because you're exposing your child, or your child is exposing himself.
He exposed me. Frankly, he exposed me.
You know what I mean? But then, look at it like this right here. If you have, say, 10,000 people who got their kids like that, they have their birthdays and stuff like that. Yeah. It's only one race, for example. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's what they're going to know. They ain't getting exposed in any way on the phone. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But if we, like, again, intentionally come out here and say, my child, you're gonna have friends, different kind of friends. You know what I mean? And they see how their daddy, you know what I mean, do in his own life. Like, okay, my daddy, he got different kind of people coming through. He got different kind of people that he talked to and stuff like that. So it becomes natural to that kid right there.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Because normal.
Exactly. That's their normal right there. That's their reality. You feel me? But if daddy or mommy always bringing the same kind of people at the crib, guess what? That's what the child gonna do.
That's right. Familiar.
Yeah. And then they go to school, they group themselves up with a different kind of people. With the same kind of people. Yeah. So again, this is where now a child is watching, they're watching us. You know what I'm saying? You're lenient with your child. Yeah. If you're slacking off with your child, they're always going to know that they can get away with it.
Yeah, you know, that's an actual really interesting point. I didn't think that I influenced that birthday party, the one that you're talking about. Uh-huh. But now I just thought about this. I'm like, okay, so we've talked about inputs into somebody's life. Yeah. You know, these are the things that affect who they become. And I realized that even before my kids were born, and then as they got born and started living in this world, apologize for everybody who just stumbled on my articulation of that one. But ever since that I've been carting my kids around me with all these little service things that I do and all that, it's been so multicultural, right? All these houses that I've visited, I've got white, I've got Indian, I've got black, all of them. Yeah. And I've had my kids there, and I didn't even recognize before that I was exposing them to things that they wouldn't necessarily normally be exposed to in that, which is why it's so normal and easy for them to do it. Now, I'm not taking credit for it. I'm sure that they themselves didn't see it anyways. They would have made friends with these kids regardless. Yes. But I'm just sitting there thinking that they have been exposed. I keep thinking, because of that mentality that I have, is like, well, predominantly I have a bunch of these kind of friends. I got one Asian friend and the rest of them are predominantly white. Right. And then I met you guys, and then now I can add. You know, but man, sometimes the way I say things, man. So, but that's the thing, is that their exposure level is way up there compared, because I just go out there and I work. I serve people. And then they see, you're right, man. Daddy's doing this for this. But they don't see it as a color or a race. Exactly. It's people. It's servitude. It's just normal. It's just servitude, man. Exactly. And so, I mean, for one, thank you for pointing that out. I mean, that's great to sit there and say that maybe I did contribute to that. But number two, for them as well, just to take it and run with it. I mean, that's also a choice. Right? They have a choice to sit there and choose which children. But they're probably running in the same thing. Oh, this happened yesterday. Let's go. Let's get it. So we're in Costco, and we're trying one of the samples, and the lady starts talking to my kids in Spanish. And so they chat back a little bit because they're taking Spanish in school. Yeah. And we leave, and I'm like, is that not unusual for you guys? Why do you think the lady was talking in Spanish? And then they kind of, I don't know. We're Japanese. Exactly. And she's, whoa, why did she think we're Spanish? And I'm like, it happens. It happens for us, is that people think for some reason that we're Latin. We just don't have the same profile features as some of the other, like, you can look closely, but because we're a half, it's hard to tell. So she thought that we're of Latin origin, which is why she started speaking to you guys in Spanish. And it was just like this kind of, it's so weird. And I'm like, I know. Now we have to try and go through this world and either intentionally identify ourselves, or people are left wondering. Right. And it happens all the time where I'm like, oh yeah, Japanese. You know, like it's It's total. And it's man, but that's the thing. Yeah. Kids are now being exposed to that there's these things that people don't just look at you and accept you as human.
Right.
They have to put you in that little box just so they know how to treat you.
Yes.
You know, and it's such an interesting thing, and I'm glad that they got exposed to it, and it was such a safe way to do it as well. And I mean, it was great that they could speak Spanish, because now that lady's going to go and, I met the cutest little Spanish kids, and we'll be like, no, you didn't. You know? But that's the thing, that these are we need exposure.
Definitely,
we need to just be okay.
Yeah. Just be okay.
Just be okay with it.
Be all right. It's all good, man. It's all good.
And this all stemmed from that one time. Now I'll introduce it as color, but when I started off saying, we talked about it once, is when you said there are some people that don't know how to talk to black people properly.
Yeah.
And that was the thing where I started triggering, going, am I talking as a black person properly? Kind of thing, right? And that the statement, I mean, it's been a month or so since you said that to me, and I think about that, and it's always on the front of my mind. Going from my upbringing, what have I been taught, and what do I see, and then how do I express that out there? How am I saying this in such a way? And it's funny because you start switching into that default mode that suddenly, just because you're talking to a black person, you say bro a lot.
Yeah.
You know, like that happens. See, your reaction there just told me
straight up,
because that's how it is. That's suddenly how I fit in, is because I'm like, hey bro,
yeah,
hey bro,
yeah,
bro, you know, and that suddenly makes us brothers, and we suddenly have so much in common. Yeah. And I'm sitting there going, that's one of them. That's one of the things you know right away, that somebody's trying too hard to fit in with you.
Straight up.
And I did that. I did that with you when we first started off as well. And I'm sitting there going, man, I haven't called anybody bro in years. And then suddenly I meet this Abe guy, and I got a new brother in house. You know, it's just really interesting. It's really interesting, and that's probably just one indicator of the many that you already know.
Yeah.
That it's just, why can't you just talk to me normal? I see you talking to that guy over there.
Yes.
And you never sprinkle it with all these lingo things as though you're trying to be cool. Like, I mean, it's neat for one, because when people are around, they feel like they got to step up their swag, right? They got to step it up with their. So I mean, I think that's cool. Is that they actually do change their mentality when they're talking. I just want to make sure they're not going the wrong direction on it.
Absolutely.
Because it won't take long for them to recognize that, Abe's cool. Just hang with him. Just talk to him normal.
Talk to me normal,
right? So day number one might be a little bit iffy.
Yes.
But from there, it's gonna be all right.
It's gonna be all right.
So it was just funny that was one of the things I noticed that I do the most when specifically speaking to a black person, is suddenly bro comes up way more often than it should, and I didn't understand it until we started talking about the people have a different way of talking that way. And I'm just like, everybody's brothers now. You know? It's the weirdest thing, man. Do you have anything else? This one's going long. This one's a really great conversation.
It's a great conversation. We got to revisit it again, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I appreciate this topic right here, because we got to go out there and learn each other, man. You know what I'm saying? Love each other.
Race seems to be one of our best conversations. It is. One of the ones where
we'll always talk about it, because it ain't never, like, I know 100%. I know this 100% that we're always going to be dealing with racism. Yeah. We're always going to be talking about race, because, like I said, your children are exposed. Your children are exposed to different cultures, different colors of friends and stuff like this. But there is equally the same kind of children who are not exposed to different cultures and different kind of friends.
Absolutely.
So they are always going to go their own lane, and your children are going another lane.
And that's that natural segregation that you're talking
about. It is.
About,
you know what I'm saying?
It's unintentional.
Exactly.
Except that people are just staying comfortable.
Right.
And that's it. They're not. And then by the time that they're 25, suddenly they're in a certain profile of people, and they can't.
Exactly. Yeah. And my thing too is that right here, the more that we learn about each other, is the more that love is going to grow in the world. It's the more that we're going to just appreciate each other and not judge each other by the color of our skin, by my hoodie, by my dude taking his jeans right here. He cool with it. Just chill, relax.
You know, oh man,
that's my guy.
Okay, we're gonna have to pick this up, because you're talking about clothing there as well, and then now what's coming out is cultural appropriation all the time. So maybe I'm trying to fit in with a certain profile of people, but now by me wearing the baggy jeans and all that and fitting in with some, G-hood guy, now I'm suddenly taking away from your culture, right? But that's a different conversation, but it's just interesting to see everybody trying to adapt. There are those, but then they get blasted from a different direction, saying, "Oh man, you're appropriating that culture by dressing the way that they do," or something. It's like, no, I read what my tattoo means when I got Japanese characters on there. It doesn't just look cool, but it means honor. You know,
right.
No, you're appropriate Japanese. I don't know. So let's wrap this one up, Dave, because we got another probably 40 minutes that we could go on.
100.
This has been great.
It's been nice, man.
Thanks for joining us on the Two-Way Street.
Two-Way Street.
We're having a blast out here. Send any of your emails or questions to media@thetwowaystreet.com, or you can find us Facebook, Instagram, and you can find Abe at Conversations with Abe.
Conversations with Abe.
Have a great day.